Thank you for joining us today for Season 1, Episode 1 of Unraveled, Untamed, and Unashamed. I am Christina Baker, the creator and host of this new series. For those of you who have been following our previous podcasts from the Collab Studios, this series is going to be a bit more personal in nature. I'm going to tackle some tough topics, and my goal is to challenge you to think outside of your norms, to let go of the things that aren't working, and to embrace the things that bring you peace. As we recorded this first episode, I was reminded that I have come a long way, but that I still have a lot of work to do. My guest today is Jill DuBois, a friend, author, illustrator, and self-proclaimed repurposed educator. She is also the originator of Imparted Joy, LLC, and is a professional learning guide at Forward Edge. As Jill and I talk today, you will see that we had a very similar upbringing. We each met our unraveling in a somewhat similar form. Take a walk with us down memory lane through our own questioning and how we got in tuned to our unique brand of faith through authenticity. Jill, welcome.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Again, it's, again, is that like again? Like, oh man, we had to have her again.
Oh my goodness. It couldn't be more the opposite of that. It's more like, again, you agreed to come back here?
Oh, well, every time I walk in this space, I don't know if your listeners can hear it, but there's just like a peace, like that just flows in this space and place, like that you guys would not believe.
I really appreciate that. That means a lot to us.
Yeah.
We've definitely have strived to put out the vibe and make people feel welcomed and comfortable here at the Collab Studios, and be comfortable to say anything and experience things that maybe you've been intimidated by before, and open up your mind to think about things that maybe you weren't exposed to and maybe you were too afraid to, or that's what we're all about. And just opening up that creativity and allowing you to be you and experience, the joys of life, and creating connection with people, and then cultivating those relationships and coming together and being human and celebrating all that means with each other. So thanks for that.
Yeah. No, it's
intro.
That's the story of our lives, isn't it? The
Absolutely.
whole, I always think of, the whole growing process, and all of in a plant, everything that grows, most of the growth is happening below the ground, and you can't even see what's going on. And then that blooming starts to happen, or the sprouts start to come, and you see that, but you don't see the whole tangled mess that's underneath.
Right on.
That ground that is really the support system. So.
Good word. So today, got a new show. We're introducing maybe some uncomfortable topics, some slightly controversial things. So I commend you on your bravery, knowing both of our backgrounds and our ties with the community. This can get a little dicey with people, and it's a brave move, I think, on both of our parts. So we're here to paint some broad strokes. We're here to start a conversation. We're grateful that we live in the country that we do, because we can talk about these things publicly. We can challenge anything that we want to. We don't have to be afraid that, there's going to be a knock on our door tonight from, the police that are going to haul us away. We don't have to do that. We don't have to cover ourselves. We don't have to hide. what we're going to talk about today are these are our experiences that we own. This is looking through our individual lens. And it may not look like that for you, and that's okay. But I encourage you to find your lens and look at that lens and think about your experiences. We're not here today to offend or convince anybody of anything. We are simply sharing our experiences and opening a conversation. And also, I want our listeners to understand that it has taken us both a lot of time to get to where we are. And I'm going to sprinkle in a lot of therapy on my part to get to where we are. Jill and I were both raised in the same way. Did you have something to say before I move on?
No,
Okay.
I agree. I think it has taken us a long time to get here, and even just you and I together as friends.
Right.
I mean, we've had a very, I don't know, a congenial, fun acquaintance type friendship throughout the years. But I think it's only been maybe in the past year or so that each one of us has kind of taken a direction, and we started recognizing that path in each other, that, hey, she's sharing some stuff that's really probably really hard for her to share. And then, you've probably seen the same on, my end. So, but it's like, we don't watch each other from afar anymore. Now we're like, all right, well, we've seen each other. We've seen these different paths and journeys we're taking. So can we get together and just talk about it?
Right.
And that just, Christine, that opened up a whole new world for me. I don't share things with people.
You don't?
No. I mean, other than, my husband, or I don't open up. And I think because we're so fearful of being vulnerable, and I think maybe we're fearful of being condemned and criticized and judged. We want people to love us and like us, and not everybody will.
Right. Well, I'm honored and grateful that you are willing and brave enough to share with me. I did not know that. I'm kind of an open book, so when someone shares with me, it's not surprising. But hearing you say that, that's not your norm, I feel that's wonderful. Thank you. So, going back, so Jill and I have been friends a long time.
Yeah.
We won't 20-ish years.
Yeah, the kids were little.
Mm-hmm. Austin is how old? 24?
20, yeah, I'd be 25.
Yeah, same as Burke. Yeah. So we were neighbors way back when they were toddlers, and so we first got to know each other. So we're going to dig into our shared experiences here and kind of the root of our topics today. As Jill and I were both raised, was it Southern Baptist that you were raised in?
I was raised Southern Baptist, and First Baptist Church. Yep.
In Texas.
Yep, Dallas, Texas.
So I definitely similar stories. I was born into the Southern Baptist Church and baptized at 4 or 5. I accepted Jesus as my Savior. And got dunked.
Walked the aisle.
Yeah.
They walked the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, altar call. That's what it was.
Altar call, walk the aisle. Yeah, prayed the prayer. It's pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how old you were?
I was 8.
Okay, so 8 to me is a little bit more manageable than 4 or 5.
Yeah.
4 or 5 seems real young.
Yeah, developmentally, how do you even really understand
right.
all of that?
As a teacher, you can speak more intelligently than me. about the developmental stages. So we did that because that's what people did in our church, and that was the norm. And we were good little girls, and we asked Jesus into our hearts, and we said the things, and we did the things because we were taught that is the only way that you are going to get to the promised land, to heaven, right?
No pork, no no clapping,
Oh,
no dancing,
no
drinking.
No, definitely no drinking, no dancing. I don't
no
know that
rock music.
No, gosh, no. I I remember in middle school, we had the radio station is still around, but 93.3. It was called the Power Pig.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember that? The Power Pig. And we were not allowed to listen to that. I mean, that was like horrible music, right? And one day we had it on, and my mom came just ranting down the hallway, and she was like, "Turn that off. Did you hear what they said? They said the Power Pig kicks ass." And I was like, "Ah!" Mom said ass.
Oh my goodness.
She didn't think it was funny.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, there was no music with a beat. That was the rule in my dad's house.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
So it was all, we went to the orchestra and the symphony. Yep. When he would leave for work, my sister and I would be alone during the week. In the summer times, I remember school breaks, and he'd go off to work, and my sister and I, we'd have on the classical music, and then as soon as we heard the garage door shut, cranked it on, turned on the soap operas. That was our rebellion back then.
Yeah, so bad. Did you guys have cable?
We did not. We had like 4 channels to choose from.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't think we had cable until I was like, I want to go like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
literally,
house.
literally like 4 or 5 channels.
Yeah. That you had to turn the knob.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or no remotes back then.
No.
Goodness.
What's a remote? So we grew up going, through the youth group,
Yeah.
going to youth camp,
Oh, camps. Yeah.
right?
Yep. Those were those are the ones that got you because you had nowhere to run.
Right. It's a big time of spiritual growth. And I don't know if this was like this for you, but for me, every year, of course, I'm questioning my salvation.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I need to get saved again?
Yeah.
Like, I've done some stuff between last summer and this summer. I should probably get saved again.
You have to rededicate.
Oh, yes, rededication.
Rededicate.
Yes. And then we come back from summer camp, and then once again, it's down the aisle for your rededication. Yes.
And they'd announce it to the whole
Oh,
church.
yeah.
It was you stood in front of the church, and then, oh gosh.
In the numbers, we had X number of salvations and X number of rededications.
Yeah. Not just Sunday morning.
No.
Sunday night.
Oh, yeah.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
This was the worst part of all of that for me was Monday night visitation. And I know you could probably relate to that.
I had to do that. Yes. Not my
Knocking
favorite.
on people's doors.
Yeah.
Cold calling with your Bible in your hand.
Yes.
Asking them if they knew where they were going when they died.
Yeah. Did you have big success with that?
No, never.
Yeah. I don't remember any.
And it's like a blur. Like I blanked.
I think I have too. Like I have a lot of memories of youth group and things like that, but Monday night visitation definitely a little void.
A lot of those things. Maybe that's just a really interesting
coping
thing
mechanism.
that we've learned to do through the years.
All right. What about Wednesday night suppers in the fellowship hall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, man, that food, that was like the best meal I had all week.
It really was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like home cooking, Southern, like just.
Yeah, Green beans.
butter
Oh,
rolls.
the butter rolls.
Yeah. So you had that in Texas.
Yes,
Like the same.
we did. We had our fellowship hall actually had a huge kitchen in it.
Oh, ours did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like a full staff.
Full
and-
staff.
Oh yeah.
Full. We even had like athletic wise, we had a gym, we had
Same.
skating rink,
Same.
bowling alley.
Oh, there's where you outdid me.
We had a 3-lane bowling alley.
You did?
We did.
Oh my gosh. Man, I thought we were at the Ritz-Carlton Church. You done one up to me.
And everything's bigger in Texas.
Oh, right. Yeah, the skating rink.
Oh, that skating rink.
It's a good smell.
Oh, yeah.
Ours
Ooh.
was on the 4th floor, and when the elevator doors opened, that smell of dirty feet wafted in. It
Nice.
was fabulous. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I did love it. I loved playing
Yeah.
basketball up there or anything. I mean, that was definitely good times for me. That was worth putting up with all of the other, I'll call it nonsense at church, so I could get up to the gym and run around and
Sword
sweat.
drills. Did you ever do sword drills?
We did. Oh
That's
my
what I hated.
gosh. I think my sister was really good at that.
For those of you that don't know what a sword drill is, you had to get your Bible. You had to close
Because it's a
it.
weapon.
Yeah. You had to put your hand, you had to close it, put your hand on top, and then they would tell you a verse, and you would have to, they'd say, all right, Romans 8:28. Romans 8:28. You have to repeat it. Romans 8:28. And I can't even remember the word, but it was like, charge. And you quickly thumb through. And those people that had their Bibles tabbed with
Oh, yeah.
all
The
of the different
cheaters.
cheaters.
Yeah.
Big cheaters.
Yeah. They're definitely going to hell.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever came up with that idea. But yeah, those were brutal. I never won one of those.
I'm pretty sure I didn't either. No. So that was youth and high school. Anything striking you, high school?
Well, high school, actually, I left public school in middle school and went to First Baptist Academy
Oh,
for 9th through 12th grade.
Okay.
So I was in my church's school,
okay.
which, it was all right.
Yeah. Good
It
experience.
was a good experience. It was a small class. I had 42 in my class and really good teachers. I mean, I remember it was a great experience. But I was still kind of always felt like I didn't really fit in.
Yeah.
Always kind of felt like I wasn't the popular girl. I wasn't a cheerleader. I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't get in the cool crowd. But
Look at you now.
I made it. Made it out.
Yay.
And then I went to college at Liberty University.
You
So
did?
I was one of Jerry's kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah. And yeah.
How was that experience?
That was, I enjoyed that too because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
I'd gone my whole life being in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And, I graduated from high school and went to another bubble. And I was kind of happy in those little bubbles.
Yeah. And then where did you meet Tim?
In college.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he was at Liberty as well.
Yeah.
And did he have similar upbringing?
Yes, but he was a little more rogue.
Okay.
He was the kid that was always there in youth group but they're the ones that would sneak in and climb in the kitchen, break in at night and steal food and
Uh-oh.
go out on the back patio.
Do we need to edit this part out?
No.
Sorry, Tim.
He was a little more, what do you call it? I guess active. I was a little more passive. He was a little more active.
Okay. But he had a fairly
similar.
good.
But everything was good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then kids.
Yeah. So, it just seemed like everything just kind of went from one thing to the other. And, when
Because that's what you do.
that was, especially back then.
Right.
It was like, I remember going, wait a second, I am just turned 22. What am I doing? Graduating from college and getting married.
Yeah.
but that's what everybody did.
Right.
You know, and I went to college, and that was the thing. You were looking for a man.
A
You was
MRS
looking for your
degree.
MRS degree. And I found him.
Yes.
But, you know, it was different. Being at a school where you really had a lot of rules and regulations, and there were some legalistic.
Did you have chaperone dates?
We didn't, but we had to double date
Okay.
until our junior year. And there was no PDA ever.
Right.
Like, nothing.
Of course, because that's gross.
Yeah, could not hold hands.
No. Who does that?
Terrible.
Mm-mm.
But I remember, like, I had been so sheltered my entire life, and then going away to college, which was thousands of miles away. Why I even just wanted to do that, I think in my deep subconscious mind, I just knew I needed to get out of Texas. I needed to get away. I was going to go to Baylor. I was all ready, had my roommate. We had our room all designed and picked out everything, and I said, nah, this isn't where I'm going.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a big
It
change.
was huge.
Yeah. Were your parents okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. And it was odd. It was one of those, I was by myself. Like, I did not know one person. And, but I kind of was like, I can do whatever I want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You know?
Was Liberty a little more strict than Baylor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
A lot more.
Yeah. And you went there.
We had to go
Willingly.
to chapel. We had to go. Had to go to church. Can't tell you how many times I slept underneath my bunk
Yeah.
skipping church.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah. Just
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be I didn't want to be held to having to do something.
Right.
I'm in college. I'm
Right.
an adult.
Yeah. So, Tim, he got his degree in
He did. He got his
theology
degree
or
in youth
divinity
ministry.
or okay, youth
Yeah,
ministry.
and he graduated a year before I did, 2 years before I did, and went to seminary there. And then he came back here. I finished up my last year, and
And your degree is education?
my degree was not in education.
Okay.
It was in human ecology, which is a very fancy way of saying home economics.
Well,
Doesn't that sound good, though?
it sounds really
Human
good.
ecology.
And I think, in my high school experience, that was one of my favorite classes. Learn how to crack an egg and iron and stuff. I'm a fabulous ironess.
I loved it. I
don't
loved
mind
the
ironing,
classes.
yeah.
And I had lots of textile classes and design classes. So no,
Okay.
it was a lot of fun. But
All right. Well, you got your MRS. So
I got my
who
MRS.
cares?
That's everybody in that department, pretty much. That's what they were doing.
So success.
Yes.
So Tim starts working.
Tim starts working. I graduate. And we get married. Gosh, I graduated in June, and we got married graduated in May. We got married in June.
And you're 22.
And I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah. Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Baby. I was not a grown-up.
Yeah.
Not an adult.
Well, I got married young, too. I skipped the college route and went straight for the hot guy at church. So we got married when I was 20. I could not drink.
No.
Not that I would have at my wedding
No.
because we can't.
Did you have alcohol
We
at your
did
wedding?
not. No,
we didn't either.
No. Gosh,
Yeah.
no. But we did have dancing. And it
Oh.
was really controversial because there was, of course, our only friends were church friends.
Yeah.
And many of them danced because I had a DJ. And it was like a big deal. I mean, people were like, we had the best time at your wedding. And they were all dancing. And I was like, I'm not sure this is okay, but I like it a lot. I'll take it. So, yeah. Yeah, so got married young. Mike started working, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have parents that worked,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no example of people who worked. And the message that was spoken in our home was, we're so blessed. We feel so sorry for people that have to work. And therefore, I was terrified of work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the only thing that would prevent me from working. I got pregnant. Because I'm like, I don't want to get a job. I'm going to start popping out babies, right? That's the only thing that
That's
made
what we
sense
do.
to me. Yeah. So Bert came along, and then Riley came along, and I was a stay-at-home mom and very involved at our church and on the vision board and planning committee of the sermon series that were being introduced, and meeting with the leaders. And, I had kind of a bird's eye view of what was happening in some of the inner workings of that machine. And that's where I saw some things that left a very bad taste in my mouth.
So, left a bad taste in your mouth, like about organized religion, about church,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
okay, because I would say that's probably when I started seeing things with Tim being in the ministry
Right.
and knowing a lot of what he would come home with and have to disaggregate, and take apart and share. And I saw the inner workings too. What do we say? Behind the curtain?
Yeah. We
We saw behind the
saw the
curtain.
wizard behind the curtain. And he's not pretty.
And we lived with it for a long time.
Yeah, you were involved in that way longer than I was, and probably saw way more than I did. I also happened to be, close friends with some of the staff, and things were shared with me, and I'm not going to get into, but certainly things that just didn't align with my beliefs. And it really got me thinking deeply about my beliefs and why I believed them.
And should you have questioned? We grew up our whole lives like,
Right.
You don't question.
Right.
Really, this is just what we do. We didn't have a choice when we were growing up. It was like, and we didn't understand that there actually even, I don't think I ever really understood there was a choice.
No.
And evolving and transforming. And it's, this is, I'm a mature woman now. And so far in years that it's just been the past 10 years, I think that I've really just kind of unraveled.
Good word.
And started to kind of reweave together the faith that I want to have for myself for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I can't go back and go, gosh, why didn't I say something? Or why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that?
But when you are, like you said, not given a choice, that what you were offered, what you were taught, what you were sold was this is the only way.
With conditions.
Not only the only way, but this is how you have to do it.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And everybody else is doing it wrong. And poor them.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we know that this is the way, right?
I mean, I couldn't even be friends with people of other faiths.
No.
I remember I had a friend who was Jewish in elementary school, and she had invited me to come to her birthday party. It was a sleepover, and my dad was like, no, you can't. They're not Christians.
Right.
Like, well, she's my friend.
Right.
This was 4th grade.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to convert to Judaism.
Right.
May have a little grape juice,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
okay, and I accepted it.
Right.
So when you come down to stripping away all of this stuff that kind of burdened us as we kind of went through that transformation of when we saw what we saw and realized what was happening behind the curtain and behind the scenes, you can't unsee it.
Correct.
You can't go back and go, oh, it's just a one-time thing.
Right.
No, it's not. So it does cause you to step back and to go back and introspectively just go, what do I believe?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard to define. Sometimes it's still hard to define.
Yeah. So where do you go? Where did you go when the unraveling started? What did that look like for you?
It was probably after my dad died. He was kind of like our rock and our foundation of our family, and he was the one that would take us to church. He was the one that kind of kept us on the straight and narrow. And when he died, it was kind of like, I don't have to do this anymore.
Really?
I don't have to pretend to be who he wanted me to be.
And how old were you when he
years.
passed?
It was 16 years ago. So pretty old. In my 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did your mom change?
So my parents were divorced when I was little.
Okay.
So my mom was kind of always on when they divorced, I was 8. So, and she got remarried shortly after they divorced, a couple years later, and kind of lived, a normal, I wouldn't say a normal life, but always respected, the way that my dad kind of brought us up. And to this day, my mom is very strong in her faith and is not ashamed to talk about it. But I just remember that burden kind of just being off my shoulders when I realized, gosh, I don't have to fake it.
Yeah.
And that's when things started to unravel. And I don't think it really it wasn't a bad thing. You think of something unraveling as coming apart and not being able to be put back together. But it was. I'm still working on it, but still working on my faith. I know I've let go of a lot of those legalistic theology pieces that if they don't make sense to me, I'm not going to worry about them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna dissect them and figure out, well, who's right and who's wrong. And here's what it comes down to for me. My faith is my faith. I know what I believe in. I know that I believe in Christ as my Savior. I know that I believe that God has a great plan for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the Bible and I pray and I do different things to deepen my fellowship with Him and with other people. But it is not anything like I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a beautiful collaboration of, I talk to God like He is my best friend. It's not a wizard in the sky who is giving me the things that I'm asking for.
Yeah.
I remember praying as a kid, just, please, I pray for so-and-so, they feel better. I really want a scooter for my birthday.
Unspoken.
Unspoken. Oh, my Lanta. but now it's like, oh my gosh, Lord, you know what? I just bombed. I was, totally supposed to have this kind of day today, and my attitude sucks. And you know what? Please forgive me. Can you please just come pick me up and, sit here beside me and put your arm around me and tell me it's going to be,
Yeah.
And those are the conversations I have with him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's none of this, oh, great God.
Right.
It's, hey, I need you right
Can
now.
you help me out
you
here?
Just sit down here. And I don't feel like that's irreverent or, disrespectful, because I know that's what he wants me to do. He wants the rebel in me to come and talk to him about the things that I'm struggling with, or, the things that, I always say, I love Jesus, but I cuss a little. And that's okay.
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I am today.
Yeah.
And we don't go to any kind of church right now. We don't have a, traditional church that we attend. And I'm completely satisfied, completely content with that. I think because I have that affirmation. I know who I am. I know who I am to him. And I know who he is to me.
I love it.
So, yeah.
So since you mentioned the Bible.
The Bible.
That's the book for me. Oh, my gosh.
I can't even remember the rest of that song.
I can, but I'm not going to do it. I have found that when I talk to people, sometimes, a lot of times, if I get in a conversation, which I really don't enjoy, I'm not a confrontational person, which is why I kind of chose this format to possibly introduce some different concepts instead of, blasting someone online or in person. That's just not me. But I think these topics are really interesting. And so when I have had some conversations about the Bible, most Christians can't even say, or they don't even know how the Bible that they fiercely defend, they don't know how it was written, how it was put together. I gotta let everybody know that's listening, it didn't just fall out of the sky.
It didn't?
No, it didn't.
Moses didn't come down off the mountain with it,
Well,
fully intact, full grain leather?
No. Gold embossed NIV? No, it didn't. It was assembled by humans.
Imperfect people.
Imperfect people put this, what really is 66 books together. When Jesus was walking the earth, there were 39 books at that time. And you got to remember also, you mentioned, leather bound. These were not books as we know them today. They were scrolls, right? So imagine they're walking around in these cases, probably wooden cases with 39 scrolls.
Thousands of pounds.
I'm sure.
Could you imagine?
I'm sure pretty heavy, yeah. So that was what was going on while Jesus was walking the earth, and as he referred to them as the scriptures. The rest of what we now know is the Bible wasn't put together until almost 400 years after Jesus walked the earth. Almost 400 years. So it's mind-blowing to me. So that's a total of 66 different books written by how many different authors? 40. 40 different authors in a time span of 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Some good history there.
I know.
That was a great lesson.
Everyone should be very impressed
That was
at this point.
Very impressive.
Has anyone ever played telephone?
Yes. Love that game.
Can you imagine playing telephone over a 2,000-year span? Let that soak in for a minute. Because I think it's really important that maybe the things that we're trying to be perfect at isn't really the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe the things that we're fighting over are not really real.
No, never meant to be. I don't think. And I think about when we were growing up and our situation, Christina, with, we learned those cute little Bible stories.
Mm-hmm.
We learned about Noah, we learned about Moses and Jacob and, Esther. It's not until almost like even after you get past all of that and you're like, well, it's just a big happy story Bible,
Right.
It's like, then you get into it and you go, there's David. I mean, David was a king who slept with somebody else, had concubines and had, Bathsheba's husband killed. And I mean, it's so full of, topics that today, you could definitely correlate to things that were happening back then. But it's like these were real people. These were sinful people. Mm-hmm. We don't worship them.
Right.
But we look at where God used them to get to where, they are.
Right.
And Paul. And so many great examples of, they just followed. They just believed. They didn't worry about all of the hypocrisy and the politics and all the crap.
Right. Or did they?
I hope not. And I think it's been twisted and taken out of context a lot. And that's the sad thing. Even now you look at churches now and you look at where it's just the focus doesn't seem to be where it needs to be. It's a production. It's almost like going to an event every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had ever missed a Sunday when I wasn't sick, or, I missed if I was sick, but even when Tim and I were married, just walking in going, who's looking at me? Do I look okay? Or you look at who's, I always call it performing, the worship team performing. And I'm like, yeah, wow. It doesn't look like they're, and you just you automatically critical. You're critical and criticize.
Yeah.
And why?
Do you think it's any coincidence that when Jesus preached, it wasn't anywhere near a church?
Yeah.
I think, and somebody might correct me on this, but I think the only sermon Jesus gave in a church was when he was a child.
When he was maybe learning.
Yes.
Yeah, still learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was...
Yeah, and the people that came to him. He didn't speak to the rich people. He didn't speak to the people who never had a job.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke to the prostitutes
Yeah.
and the destitute people and the lame and the blind and the sick
And the thieves.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
awful people
Mm-hmm.
by our standards.
Right.
And no different,
Right.
you know.
Long pause.
Long pause.
It's a lot to take in,
Yeah.
especially for maybe, some of you guys who really haven't thought about these types of questioning conversations, because I think it can bust you wide open. It can shake everything. And, we're not, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm really not trying to offend or anything, or convince you of anything. I'm just trying to get you to think. And if it's not working for you and it's not bringing you peace, then maybe it's not a good fit.
I think it's such a personal thing,
Absolutely.
But I hate the fact that the name Christian leaves a bad taste on everybody's mouth.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's terrible. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not ashamed to say, that I am, because I'm so solid in my faith and confident and content with what I have. But you see other people, even, TV personalities or athletes, and, it's like, oh, Lord, why in the world do you have to go there?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and they get, it's ridiculed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. It's hard to kind of even make a stand for your faith, I think, these days.
I would totally agree.
I even remember, Mom was like, "Are you ever going to go back to church?" I'm like, probably not.
Yeah.
We're pretty darn happy.
Yeah. After your whole life,
Yeah.
every week,
Yeah.
multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And am I any less a Christian now than I was then? I'm like, no. If anything, I'm more in tune to my faith now.
Yeah.
And, talking about those roots that are all tangled underneath,
Yeah.
The ground. That I think when you have that perspective of faith and that there is a God and that there is somebody who is kind of helping to guide you, and I don't say that he guides every single step. I'm not that person. I know that I can't do it on my own, because I do need to rely on some guidance and some grace and some mercy and forgiveness, because I am a horrible person.
Don't say that. You can't say that out loud.
Well, aren't we all horrible people?
No, we're not horrible people.
Well, I mean, we're all sinful, crazy people sometimes. Some of the things I've said. But, it's like all of that tangled mess, though, I can look back and go, it was my faith that brought me through a lot of that. It was my faith that brought me through infertility, that brought me through my dad's death, through my sister's death, through, having a son who struggled with, autism. And the struggles are real. I don't know where I would have leaned in, who or what, had I not had that.
Mm-hmm.
And I still need it. I wake up every morning, put my feet on the floor, and say, "Not today, Satan."
Well,
get thee behind me.
in your best British accent.
My best British accent.
Oh, that was great. Well, I think we've covered a lot.
Well, what do you have to say?
Man,
Come on.
I
Come on now.
I know.
Choir.
I knew you were going to ask me. So I really still have a hard time describing my beliefs at this point. I have really such negative feelings towards the church. And I cannot unsee those. And I can certainly, it's not like I think about it every day. It's not weighing on me, but I also don't want to be a part of it. I think the other side for me is, pretty much everything that I was ever taught as a child and taught to believe in has not come to fruition. Certainly being a gay woman, I would have thought that I would have been struck down dead or living in a gutter and have no friends and no life and be miserable. Because my sin is supposed to, my quote, sin has, should supposedly separate me from God.
That's what you learned.
That's what I learned.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the
Which
truth.
could not be further
Right.
from the truth that I live today. I am completely fulfilled, completely at peace with who I am, as opposed to being a complete war with myself prior to coming out and trying to live a straight life. If people talk about, it sounds even to me so crazy that I'm going to say it was a life or death thing for me. It was. I was living so inauthentically that I wanted to kill myself. I was at such war. And as soon as I released that, my life changed. It did. I had peace for once in my life. So I just still have, and I think a lot of it to me is the language that I get hung up on. It's the church, even when, even when you say praying to God, like even that, like raises hairs on my, and that's terrible. Like, but that's what it does. That I cannot do that. I cannot speak that way anymore. It's just too close to what was pounded in my head that didn't work for me. So I think for me, I don't even know what would, if you need a box to put it in, I guess spiritual. I definitely believe, I hate to say higher power because I don't like that either.
I know, I don't like that either. You're a spiritual gangster.
Yeah. I believe there is something there. I should call it God, maybe not. But yes, I believe that I am well loved and well cared for, and I believe that I have a place to go when I die, and it's going to be amazing. I don't know if I believe in hell. We rewatched The Shack the other night.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting. So, it comes to that point where God asks the main character, oh, you have to pick one of your children to send to hell. And the parent is like, no, I'm not picking. You cannot ask me to pick one of my kids to send to hell. And again, going back to, that makes sense to me. I can grasp that. How could our God send people to hell? I don't know. But it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
I think I was so traumatized by early induction to Revelation that scarred me for life. I think that's why I have so many fears and unrealistic, ridiculous fears. that I've had to
scared
that
you into
yes
things you had to believe.
Yeah.
Thief in the Night. Do you ever watch those? Do you remember those weird
we had to watch
70s movies?
Yeah, all of those.
Those
Left Behind. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You know, why do you
Right.
have to scare a kid?
Yeah.
Why is that
They
okay?
you scare the hell out of somebody.
They sure did. So that's where I'm at. I and that's worked for me for the last 15 years that I have been, tried to be loving and kind and be like Jesus and treat everybody with love and all are welcome and leave all the other crap behind. That's my religion.
Literally.
Who wants to sign up?
Well, I think, that's why I love this conversation, because we're not here to change each other's minds about anything.
Right.
We're just two people who grew up in the same way, who have gone our own paths and found our own versions of faith that work for us.
Yeah.
And if we're happy and content, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. It's good. So that's the lesson of our podcast.
I would say, if
I
we had
like
to wrap
that.
it up.
Yeah.
If we had to wrap it up and put a little tiny cute little bow on it.
There it is, folks. You heard it here first. Last words?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm all about, being joyful and all that, right? But I'm not going to say, be the joy. No, here's what I'm going to say today. Be a quitter. Be a quitter. Quit the things that aren't working for you. Quit the things that you've always hung on to that are causing you pain.
Boom.
Just quit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah. I can't top that. I concur. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tune in soon to our unscheduled next podcast. Like us, subscribe, share it with your friends, write to us, info@the-co-lab.com. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. What else, Tyler? YouTube.
TikTok.
A little bit of tickety-tockety.
Tickety-tockety.
All right, y'all. Peace out.